Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 6. So, this, of course, is another episode that I actually did enjoy, even though in the back of my mind I was consistently thinking, I'm like, where's Boba Fett in this episode? Man, that's Boba Fett. Like, man, we just completely, like, after we tell this guy's, like how did he come back to life kind of thing, we just like or basically well, F Boba Fett. Like, I think we've told enough of his story to where it's like, man, that's pretty bad when you have two episodes that barely have any real Boba Fett stuff in it. But I get it. There's a lot of Easter eggs to still unleash within the story. There's still some story left that you have to really understand the journey. Really, between episode 6 and episode 7, there's to be a huge gap of time, and now we have to fill it by using all these other Star Wars episodes. So, and this is just the way of which that Star Wars shows have to do their thing now, goofily enough. So, we go on in this show, and for a lot of people that are, or that were to, of course, enjoy Star Wars Clone Wars, the animated series, there's going to be another character that is to showcase himself upon this show, and some people might be like, oh yeah, heck yeah, like, I love that character, and so, like, there is a now actual live-action variation of this character. And so people will probably be excited about that, the slight tweaking and slight variation of this character that was to showcase himself via the later seasons of Star Wars Clone Wars. Right around the time, like, after we kind of get some big characters coming back into the Star Wars Clone Wars saga, like, we had this character being introduced also, and they're like, ooh, ah, so we also have a lot of characters who are to come back from season 2 of The Mandalorian within this episode, and they are to honestly be the main focus because we really have to show the importance between the gap of time between Star Wars Episode 6 and Star Wars Episode 7, and so this show has to basically be the understanding of all that. So, with that said, because we have, of course, like, Ahsoka Tano that ends up coming back here, and, like, we consistently have her, like, have ties with Luke in this episode, and some just kind of cool, like, little interesting things, some little interesting like, stuff between also Ahsoka Tano and The Mandalorian. So yeah. But the main focus is on Grogu's training, his Jedi training, or his possible Jedi training, whether he wants to go and pursue being a Jedi or not. So we have to go on and see where Grogu's allegiance is going to lie here, or align. So, it seems that a war is brewing, and it seems that more and more, it's not about Boba Fett just getting muscle. It seems that there might at some point be an all-out war coming soon between the Pike Syndicate and Boba Fett's people, and it's fairly obvious in this episode that there really is a war that's going to have to possibly be broken out. And looks pretty cool, looks pretty interesting. So with that said, let's go out of our way to say that it's about that time yet again. Just going to spoilers about this one. If there's some kind of detail that I fail to know the name of, or if there's some kind of ship that I couldn't have been bothered to go on and say at some point, my bad. Like, really, at some point, I could eventually just say, it's like, well, hey, there's a lot of stuff that I have to memorize, or there's a lot of stuff that I have to go on and just want to say and not have to stumble upon every single thing of like, oh yeah, this is the OC3 bow, bleep 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 bleep, and then have to go into whatever I'm doing in this episode. And plus, there had been a number of times where I've gone on and said certain names of certain things in prior episodes. So at any point, if I miss-say something or I couldn't be bothered to go on and re-say some name, then that is what it is with the show. It is what it, like, I'm not just going to go, like, yeah, I need to say this exact ship name every single time it appears. I just don't want to have that kind of time in my life to go through every bit of this. But anyways, let's go through every bit of this. Let's go on. So we have, of course, Mando that is making it to Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple planet. It seems like he's the only one really there. And once Mando goes on and is to land his starfighter or his starship we go on and we have Mando meeting with R2-D2, and we're like, yeah, R2-D2, as he goes on and is to take Mando to these androids that are building this temple of sorts. So we go on and we have Mando that is just like calling out to see if anybody's really here. It doesn't seem like anybody's of earshot. So we just have Mando who's just kind of waiting it out as R2-D2 is just kind of shutting down. And so he's like, okay, all right. So we also have at the beginning of this where we have, of course, Cobb Vanth, who is to, of course, be in the most Pelgo territories, seeing that the Pike Syndicate is going on and trying to trade off spices, and Cobb doesn't like that, and so he is going on and shooting some of the Pike Syndicate and wanting the last Pike Syndicate to like think it through, because we have it to where Cobb keeps going on and like saying stuff like that, like, hey, like, think about it, like I'm gonna shoot you. So we have one Pike Syndicate where like discussing things with Cobb, and Cobb is going on and telling this Pike Syndicate to drop the deal of which that he was to be make with these people. How about you go on and just drop this stuff and then just leave? And we go on, we have this Pike who is telling Cobb here, it's like, well, a lot of this stuff that I have is worth more than your house, or worth like more than this planet. And we, of course, have Cobb going on of like, well, good, I'm going to be a very wealthy man then once I take all your stuff. So this guy goes off because Cobb is to take all this stuff from this guy, like, on purpose, because he doesn't like these dealings being done on this territory. Because he's on Mos Eisley, but he's in a certain territory of planet. So, but we'll come back to Cobb a squeaking little bit later. So, so we go on here and we have, of course, okay, there's a big massive gap here. That's great. So we go on and, of course, have Grogu, who is being trained by Luke Skywalker. And so we, of course, have Luke trying to train Grogu on how to do things like jump, be able to use the Force, meditate, and any number of Force-like, power-like stuff. Even at one point, helping Grogu remember his past, where it seems that we have some stormtrooper-esque like guys that are firing away at a number of Jedi. I want to say they were stormtroopers, but honestly, they actually look like clone clone soldiers. So I don't know. I don't know. That's the one. It is what it is. So we go on and we have Luke who is showcasing Grogu how to use his power. And Grogu, while not really not really meditating like Luke is, we have Grogu who is going on and taking this frog and he's like using this power and dangling the frog in front of him. Because if we know Grogu, we realize that Grogu would go on and eat any number of things. To the point of him eating eggs in the other season, to where everybody's like, oh, that's sacrilege. He's eating animal eggs. How could he? Yeah, but he would eat frogs and stuff like that all the time. But it is what it is. So we go on and we have Luke who is to take a number of frogs and I'll just kind of hold them up in the air. And so we go on and we have like Luke who's basically being Yoda here. We have at a point where Grogu is even getting some knowledge about Yoda, where Luke is to go on and say like, yeah, I met a thing like you once, where he used to go on and talk in riddles, and he used to tell me that size matters not, and like I'm like, oh my god, he's referencing Yoda. He's referencing Yoda. Yoda man. But so we go on and we have Luke who is to go on and have Grogu go and try to learn how to jump in a kind of Jedi-like manner. And we're having Luke have this one ball that is to shoot out these laser beams. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this from Star Wars Episode 4, where Luke is going on and having uh, this shield onto this helmet, and he's having to use this lightsaber to try and stop these these blasts from coming out of this one ball. I don't remember what the actual ball is. Maybe I should probably pause here and go on and figure out what that ball actually was. Marksman H Combat Remote. Or in other words, a training ball. God, shouldn't that have just freaking been the easiest thing to just call it one simple gosh dang thing? But no. So we go on and we have Grogu, who is to, of course, try to go up against this ball, and he kind of has to kind of maneuver around it, and he jumps from all these places. But then once finally Grogu is to use his kind of force powers to go and take down this training ball, we go on and have Ahsoka Tano, who is to make it to Luke and give her or have Ahsoka Tano give Luke the present from the Mandalorian, because Ahsoka Tano is to go on and meet with the Mandalorian, and Ahsoka Tano is telling the Mandalorian that he should not go and try to meet with Grogu, because Grogu misses the Mandalorian a great deal, and it'll conflict with Grogu's training. And we have the Mandalorian that is still just like wanting to see Grogu because he has this armor. So we have Tana that goes on and delivers this armor to Luke. And so Luke is just like, okay, all right. So we go on towards the end of this episode, and after we are to showcase some training here and meditation and all this other jazz and whatever, we go on and have Luke at the end of this episode now having to make Grogu decide whether or not he wants to have the armor from the Mandalorian, or he wants to go on and get this lightsaber that, of course, was Yoda's. And so we, of course, have Grogu with the choice of like, well, hey, do you want to go on and take this lightsaber and go on and continue your learning and continue on going and being a Jedi and be like a possibly the best Jedi that you can be in the future, or would you want to go on, take this armor, go back with the Mandalorian, and never get one bit of Jedi training ever again? It's like, hey, like this is basically a big life choice, and this training will take some time, and so like you have to decide now like what you want to do with your life. And I'm like, I'm assuming Grogu has to go on and just take the armor, right? Because think about it. Why is it that we don't see Grogu as a Jedi in any of the other films? 7, 8, and 9. There has to be a reason for that, because maybe he went on and decided, oh, well, I'm going to go back with the Mandalorian, and because what, are they going to go and like have an episode 10 where we're going to go on and find out that there was Grogu all along and he's been like hiding out? They have to explain Grogu now. Are they going to explain that he got killed at some point? Because that would suck. Like, they really do have to explain a lot of these characters that are all just, like, gone also from any of the other Star Wars films, and how they don't have a legitimate presence here. But it is what it is. So, now that that is technically all covered, all the stuff, all the things, all the stuff. So, we go on and we have Mando that is to go and make it back with Fett and all of these characters. So we of course have Fennec that is going on and telling us here that with Chrysanthemum and Mando, that it seems that they're finally going to have a good supply of muscle here. But it seems still that if the Pike Syndicate is to want to go on and have a all-out war, that there's a possibility that these guys are going to be outmatched, and that they're going to need at some point some foot soldiers to go on and try and go against the Pike Syndicate. So we now have it where the Pike Syndicate is going to fight back here. We have at one point where the Pike Syndicate are going on and making it to this sanctuary bar, or the Twi'lek bar. And so if I pronounce that or missay that or whatever, we go and have these Pike Syndicate guys go and drop off this canteen of sorts. And so we go on and have these two Pike Syndicate guys go into this bar, and we of course have a RA7 protocol droid that is asking both of these guys like, hey, would you like anything to drink? We of course have these Twi'leks that go over there, this man and female Twi'lek, I think, if I'm saying that wrong, kind of asking them if they need to have their helmets cleaned, and they are of course saying no. So we go on and we have these Pike Syndicate members leaving this bar, and Garza is starting to think that something fishy is up here, because we have this droid, this protocol droid, that realizes that they had left this one thing within this bar, and so we find out that this item is to be an explosive, and this bar blows up. I'm like, oh my god! Whoa! Man, they just set up this bar, and it's been a consistent thing in their show, just for them to blow it up? That's not the worst thing. So we also have Mando that goes back to meet with Cobb Vanth, of course, in Mos Eisley. or just the most the the most Pelgo territory. So we of course go on and have Mando and Cobb just kind of reminiscing about the time that they have uh, been together. Where we of course have Cobb who's saying that he is being a lot more safe now that he doesn't have that Boba Fett armor, and so because we have it where Mando is asking Cobb to go to war with him, and Cobb is just like, dude, I don't have the Mandalorian armor anymore. I don't have that sweet Boba Fett armor. So like I don't get what you're asking me. like like we don't have this place that is to really have soldiers at all. Like I think I think you're barking up the wrong tree. Also, when Mando is to park his ship, we go on and have this deputy that's trying to tell him where else to park his ship anywhere but there. And Cobb comes out there. He's like, "Hey, he's new. Like, just give him a break." So after Mando and Cobb are having this exchange, where of course we have the bartender here, who of course is to be a character that probably shouldn't matter what his name is, but uh, the weekly proprietor, sure. The weekly proprietor, sure. The proprietor. So we go on and we have it where it seems that Cobb is willing to help out Mando, and so like we'll kind of leave it at that. So Mando goes and takes his ship and goes off. All of a sudden, for Cobb to just kind of feel a little uneasy, as all of a sudden we have a man kind of walking in from the sands of Pelgo. So we go on and we consistently have this guy further and further walking into town. And so Cobb is just like, okay, like there's something that's just not quite right about this guy. So I kind of like, let's kind of wait and see what this is. We go on and we have Cobb who's telling a number of people to just kind of like, hey, like, how about you guys get inside? How about you guys go on and just kind of wait things out? Because I want to see like who this stranger is. So all of a sudden we have it where this is none other than, of course, uh, Cad Bane or Cod Bane. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Cod Bane. Cause it's been a while since I've seen this character. Cause I remember seeing him in the later seasons of course those Star Wars animated show. So, and I'm kind of used to seeing him a tweed bit different, but anyways, but it kind of seems really cool because it's kind of interesting how this guy has these hooks into his face, uh, because that's not to really like help him breathe. That's really just to help him go up against like certain Jedi's and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. So we go on and we have Bade here, who is to show his face, and we of course have Cobb. That's like, oh my god, like this is a freaking assassin. Like this guy's no joke. I know when he showed up in the later seasons of the Star Wars animated series, people were like, "Oh my god, like this is so cool!" Like a very like a Western style like character, and a lot of people immediately took to this guy, and I don't blame them because it looks very much like a Western kind of approach of a character, which is to look really cool, especially even for like a Star Wars kind of thing. Anyways, so we immediately have it where the deputy is to want to see what's going on here, and uh, he won't go and just let this like play out. So Bane ends up going on and killing both Cobb Vanth and his deputy, and then he ends up walking off, leading the townspeople to, instead of going after the deputy, seeing if he is okay or whatever, we immediately scramble to have everybody going right to Cobb, checking on him and realizing that he is dead. So I thought that was kind of funny. Uh, so really, I think weirdly that might cover most of this episode, because there's not a lot of stuff in this episode. They stretch a lot because we have to see Luke kind of flip and cartwheel and whatever his way through all the parts of uh, his forest planet, and really all that's to be the real focus here. There isn't even like very much dialogue, but we get stuff kind of here and there, but it's all just kind of like Grogu getting his training and him being tested and him going on and having Luke kind of like giving him some kind of pointers and stuff like that. But yeah, that's really all what kind of goes down within this episode. That's really all the focus upon this episode. So I think I might just go on and focus my way out of here, because let me know in the comments below if I probably forgotten anything, because I'm sure there was something that I did. I know that this probably review is a lot shorter than a lot of others because there isn't a lot going on in this episode. With that said, let me know how you feel about the book of Boba Fett. Maybe you're going into this episode specifically because you're like, oh man, like I want to hear all this stuff about this and that and whatever. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything that I had probably missed or whatever, because I'm sure there were some huge amount of details for some character that was in the background of some part of this episode that you were excited about or whatever. Because we continue to have some kind of references of some little something that are to be in the background of the show as little fun pokes of things that we are to eventually be reminded of in a later part of this show. So I'm going to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.